Hey everyone, welcome to another video review. This is the Magic Square MS-07 Space Shuttle, their version of a masterpiece blast-off. You can see him there in front of his box. We'll put him off the side real quick and take a look at said box, which is quite large for various reasons, because it comes with a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, the Magic Square logo right there, and of course, yeah, extraterrestrial mechanical life form. Hey, look, a nice bit of artwork of their Space Shuttle, I guess, looking like he's standing on top of the crashed his Nemesis, I guess. Anyway, H16 plus right there, MS-07 right there. Down here, you got the MS-07 Space Shuttle. Changes from Space Shuttle to robot and back in the Magic Square logo. A warning, not for children under 3 years, but also age of 16 up. Up here, you got the Magic Square logo plus the artwork reversed. You have Magic Square logo, and hey, look, a little bit of that little late 80s stuff going on. Warning, choking hazard again. Same thing on this side, exactly the same thing as it is because of the outline of the Space Shuttle right there. Down here, you have on the bottom, you have warnings, including choking hazard and all that stuff right there. The Magic Square logo again, and of course in the back you have the tech specs and that barcode, and hey, not for children under 3, and hey, the nice little picture of a space shuttle in the sunset, I guess. On top of that, you have instructions, which are yeah, not the greatest, to be honest. Then yeah, so a lot of this was I was very much reliant on my knowledge of the Legends class version, which they did make some significant changes in this one. So yeah, not the greatest. And of course you have the collector card, which says Space Shuttle right there, nice bit of artwork right there. And of course on the back you have this outline and the hey, look, there's this tech specs again. I believe, I want to say this is plastic. So there's that. So, Space Shuttle, the most imaginative name ever. Yeah, Space Shuttle. And yeah, getting in close a little bit, you can see it is a special. It is a very blast-off-y colored Space Shuttle. So you got lots of purple, you got brown and gray, and you got a different shade of gray or brown for some reason, and yeah, different shade of brown for some reason. Yeah, so you got 2 shades of brown on here, which is a little interesting. It's kind of weird. A lot of the early photographs made it look kind of really off, and still not, I don't think it's 100% accurate as is, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not going to matter to me that much. But yeah, got a nice purple cockpit there, and a little thing that will not come off no matter how much I wipe it away. And you got the gray wings, you got the nice little purple cockpit. There is, of course, the boosters. There's only 4 of them done in purple. There's some gaps back here as well. So I think I'll leave this slightly misaligned. Yeah, this one's, there we go. And you go to the landing side, which is actually pretty clean. There's the faux landing gear right here, but there's a actual landing gear right here, which has this actually does have a spinning wheel, but like, again, what's the point if these don't spin? So I don't know. It's really weird to me, just like, we're going to have 1 spinning wheel. On top of that, and tendency, you can see, when you move it forward, it's a tendency to kind of shift, and then you got this thing just this piece of plastic is dragging along, so, So there's that. And it is very much a Space Shuttle. It's a good solid size, you can see that. Let's see, in this mode, none of the accessories, except for one, really have anything to do, which is his gun right here. I'll talk about the other accessories in a little bit, but yeah. This gun right here can, a little pole right here can plug in right there. Like that. So you can have that. That's a weapon storage, which it looks a little silly, but hey, there's that, and yep. It looks silly, but you got that. So there's that. Now, so the other accessories that come with this guy, there are essentially, well, the combiner parts. You got the pants, which are, yep, again, toy style. So, got big and solid with blue and gray right here. A couple things I have to note about this. I did have to fix a couple things with this guy, namely, yeah, the ab crunch was a little too stiff initially. So there's that. One of the problems, yeah, there's springs. Springs in here are for this ratchet. I believe it's yeah, it's hard to get this out in general. Was it that ratchet or this one? Yeah, it's this forward ratchet. Yeah, the springs for this ratchet right here, which even now it's a little tight. Yeah, this springs for this ratchet. You can see this, it's pushing on that one. I'm not sure if I got that screwed in all the way, but yeah. Problem is these springs are so stiff. Yeah, there's 2 of them. They're so stiff that this thing is nigh impossible to move on some, including mine. Some people seem to have no problem, but yeah. So if you're having trouble, like even lubrication doesn't work. So if you're having trouble getting this thing to like ratchet to move at all, just open this up in some way. You can just, yeah, open this up in some way and remove one of the ratchets, essentially. There's that. The other thing is, yeah, if you're having trouble even getting this, if you're having trouble getting this part even out at all, There might be a reason, which is on this back plate right here, which is, yeah, using this spudger right here, remove this back plate. Yeah, because this back plate right here is a weird thing. There's this bit right here. See, this right here, on a lot of them is flipped like this. This right here, when you put it in here, locks the ab crunch. I'm not sure what the purpose is. Maybe it's for if you display it and you don't want it to move at all, I guess. But yeah, if you're having trouble getting this thing out so you can get those springs, then yeah, open this up. Yeah, basically pop this off. It's not glued in or anything, and then flip that down and put it back on, and then you can move that, and it'll move no problem. At least part of the back part will. See, that part will now move if you have that down. But I don't know why it's like that. And on this, I almost feel like I should try to see if I can tighten that down. But I feel like that's not going to go any tighter because it's like that because there's a spring missing now. So it's not. Yeah, they used way too stiff of springs. These are way too stiff. So yeah, you might be able to get some different springs. But yeah, the other thing I had to fix was again in here, getting it over here. I think. Well, right. I'm not sure why you can see that, but right there I had to grind away some plastic again so that I can actually use that, because there's that once again the exact same mistake they made with the Legends version. There's excess plastic there, so basically this will like stop right there. The hip will just stop moving forward right there, and man, everything just sticks to this again. It's the same blue problem that Onslaught had. Everything sticks to this blue plastic. Everything. You know, it would stop right there, or it would stop right. It would stop pretty much right there because there's this excess plastic. So I had to shave away some and make it work. So just be aware of that as well. The other accessory, of course, comes with the hands, which yeah, for both of them. This is for Tornado / Vortex. Now, I was absolutely 100% right in my transformation, which is, yeah, you do have to flip out one part so it can fill in everything. That's one hand, you can see, you know, it's one. And, of course, the other hand for, well, Space Shuttle here. Yeah, it comes with both hands. So you can actually finally build Bruticus. I think it's, what do they call him? They call it something else, but yeah, I'm just calling Bruticus. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's accessories, and that means that's pretty much the alt mode as a whole. Measurement stuff. In this mode, he is about 11 5/8 inches or 29.5 centimeters long. His wingspan is 7 3/4 inches or 19.7 centimeters wide, and his total weight is about 11.2 ounces or 318 grams. So there you go. Good size. Now, for comparison stuff, I'm just getting this back here. Yeah, here he is with the Mastermind Creations version. You can see that. Bit smaller here. Generally the same, almost the same length, weirdly enough. Yeah, almost the same length, not quite. This guy's noticeably chunkier though. This is that right there. Very different shades of brown between the two of them. I honestly think the MMC version looks generally better in this mode, but yeah, it's me. Here he is with his Legends version. The Legends version that came out. This is the toy version that I have. So there's that. You see that. Generally, you can see, yeah, they very much changed the color scheme. This is one of those things where initially the color scheme of the original Legends releases was considered to be a little wrong. So, you know, they adjusted some things. There's that. Because here he is next to a Masterpiece Seeker. This is the Make Toys version, but pretty much they're all the same size, regardless, in jet mode. Give you an idea. They're roughly the same general size here, even though that's not quite correct, but you know, yeah. And here he is with the rest of the, Magic Square Combaticons. You know, as much as the best I can get them all into one single frame like this. He's a good sized alt mode, to say the least, comparatively. Compared to the rest of them, which it kind of makes sense. But yeah, also one thing I want to mention, right here, Heavy Gunner. Yeah, on Mad Transformation, I completely forgot to flip out these little panels right here on each side, these little bits of the silver. I totally forgot about them. In fact, everyone forgot about them, except for like one guy. Like everyone didn't realize, nobody realized there's these little panels here. Doesn't help the instructions didn't mention them at all either. So, yay. So there's that. So, yeah, that's Space Shuttle's alt mode. So I'll go ahead and get them into combined mode, and we'll continue this review. Sure as an arm. Yep. All right. That is sure as an arm. I mean, it looks like the arm, pretty much a proper arm. Yeah, the hand can, of course, attach right there. It's just a couple tabs. The other thing, of course, yeah, this bit right here, you have, before you attach it, I'm going to show it off, but you're going to have to, have this part, out, essentially. And this is kind of hard to do. Thankfully, I still have some fingernails right now. But, yeah, you have to, you're going to have to do this first so you can, attach to the arm, then, put this over top of the attachment and then, close it up. So you have to do it like that. But, yeah, this part stays open. But, yeah. So that is the one thing you have to do, so you just be mindful of that. But yeah, it's pretty much an arm. Some people don't complain because, well, apparently according to the cartoon, this is... Yeah, that's the thing that's annoying. What was I getting at? Yeah, according to the cartoon, this part is supposed to be facing like this. So the problem is if you do it like this, you're going to have no thing. You're going to have to... There is a way to do that. You're going to have to more or less just... You can see you can disassemble the hips and everything. You're going to have to, rearrange some stuff. But it is possible if you really, really need it to look like the cartoon really bad. It is possible to disassemble the hips and everything. Or I guess hips / elbow joint here. Speaking of, right here, yeah, once again, just like the Tornado, this joint was absurdly tight out of the box. Again, just pull this thing off and loosen the screw a bit and... loosen the screw until it's comfortable enough you can actually, use the elbow joint and the ratchet still works and everything and it's not popping itself apart. So yeah, just be mindful of that. But yeah, it's pretty much just an arm and, works pretty much like you think it would. Transformation at this point is, you can saw there's a lot of paneling back here, but most part, this part, you barely have to touch this part, and most of this is all mostly paneling, but once you know what you're doing, it's not too bad, but it is a little annoying. So there's that. Now some quick comparisons, of course. Just some two quick ones. Basically, here's a Magic Squares version. Not Magic Squares. Wow. Here's Mastermind Creations version. You can see again a bit of a size difference. Not too much. There's actually not too much of a size difference here, but you can see the hands are slightly different sizes and everything. And Mastermind here just kind of didn't at all bother to try to do cartoon accuracy regarding the wings, but hey, there's that. And yeah, here's the Legends version. And you can see no flap here. Just that you just slot right in. The wings, the wings are they're kind of different colors and everything, but the general design principle remained largely the same at this point. So there you go. So having said all that, time to go ahead and get this guy into his robot mode, and then we'll more or less finish this review. Yeah, so robot mode here, it is, well, it's very blast-offy, not surprising, very cartoon blast-off, warts and all. Transformation to get here, again, most of the problem, the legs, pretty much like every single one of the legs are where the primary I can't talk right now, where the primary transformation stuff occurs. The upper half, there really doesn't, the upper half is very straightforward and there's not a lot moving on. That's the problem though, there's a lot of leg stuff going on. It's very panely too, which can be a little frustrating, particularly there's a lot of the panels are like hanging off these hinges and you have to move the thing around with each other, and yeah, I'm trying to, yeah, clearances and all that stuff. It's a little bit like a little annoying, but manageable. I still think their swindle is probably the worst when it comes to that, but yeah. Getting in close here a little bit. Yeah, you can see, yeah, he's got the cartoon head, which means he's got the little purple visor and just gray eyes. On the cartoon, sometimes they made the eyes a little bit shinier. Some people kind of wish they could maybe that did a little bit of a different paint in the eyes, but you know, this is kind of closer to cartoon accurate, for better for worse. I would have preferred, considering everything, you know, considering how they're doing things, I would have preferred this came with, you know, the more toy accurate with the purple eyes, and then the toon conversion kit came with the alternate head, but whatever. This is how they did things. But generally, you know, you guys got the pretty much the grays, you know, with the little purple thing with the little 3 ovals there. You got the brown arms right there, you know, brown and grays and purples. And then the wings and everything. He's got his, this time not fake or parts for me little tail fin there and everything. So, well, it's fake. It's fake, but it's not parts forming anymore. Yeah, he generally cleans up pretty well, all things considered. Yeah, it looks pretty good. He generally looks pretty good and everything, and yeah, transformation is again just a little bit on the rough side, particularly for the legs, but you know, it's not horrible. It's not the worst they've put out. Let's say, arguably transformation-wise, their Onslaught is probably of the Combaticons. Their Onslaught's probably the best one, just because it's the easiest, mostly. It's mostly the easiest. The only problem with it is the hips. I would say their Swindle's the most difficult. I think they followed by Tornado, then probably their Brawl and Tornado. Then this guy's probably the second least difficult overall. Yeah, but generally he looks pretty good. I just wish they had the alternate head that wasn't, you know, or something. But you know, they didn't do that, so oh well. But articulation stuff, he does have a head right here. I think it's ball jointed, maybe? No, it's not. Well, it is ball jointed. It's just kind of a weird thing, because they've got the ball jointed upper part, which go left and right a little bit, up and down, and a little bit of wiggle. But there's also the neck piece, which is a little stiffer and can also move left and back. You could left and right. Yeah, you can see that there's a little swivel at the base of the neck, and then there's a ball joint right here. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, which is pretty neat. So you got that right here. The shoulders, you do have full 360 right there. You do have outward right there, and then there's that hinge right there. So you got a lot of range there. You do have a bicep swivel kind of right there and right here. It's kind of weird because the way his biceps work, it's kind of like I wish there was like a kind of a locking point, because the biceps are supposed to be kind of here for robot mode and like fully rotated for vehicle mode and whatnot. But like, yeah, so I wish there was kind of like a soft like locking point or something right there and there, because yeah, but yeah, it's just kind of, you could do stuff with the biceps, but yeah, like also there's this joint which only activates if you have it in certain directions, and it's a little annoying sometimes, because this joint is looser than this joint, so that's a little annoying. You do have elbows though, which, you know, decent curl right there, not a huge amount of curl, but a decent curl. Right here at the hands, of course, you do have a wrist swivel, and there's the hinge right there, so you can, you know, palm out and everything. And of course, as you can see, the fingers are all individually articulated, with the thumb being on a ball joint at the base. Actually, I believe these are actually all balls into the base. But with the cutout right here for the thumb, you got a hinge right there as well. And the fingers, again, you got the hinge, you know, you got the ball joint at the base, you got the hinge and the hinge right here. And because of the cutouts, you also have basically multiple hinges. Plus, because it's the ball joints, there's splay, a good chunk of splay too. So pretty posable hands. You also have waist, which has got a soft ratchet right there. You got a waist swivel unimpeded. There is, could have sworn. Oh, I remember. Crap, I just remember something. It's like I was saying, I could have sworn there was there is. Forgot something in the transformation. There's that bit. But yeah, there is a locking thing right there. Yeah, there's a little locking thing for the arm mode and whatnot, and I totally forgot about. I totally forgot to undo it when transforming it. I was sitting there going, I could have sworn there was an ab crunch. But yeah, there's an ab crunch, which is nice. And you can lock it so there's not an ab crunch if you don't want it. But yeah, pretty good ab crunch right there. Hips down here, there's no hip panel, so you got forward here on this. It's one of those weird offset ratchets. But yeah, I got forward right there that far. Good high kick. Back, You also get this other thing, so you can go back pretty decently as well. Yeah, you can also do this weird thing. I guess you can make them kind of taller if you want, but it's going to look weird. Outward, you do have pretty much that, and I believe if you pull this down, yeah, well, no, not really. Yeah, you have pretty much full outward right there. You have a thigh swivel right there. Knees are double jointed, but because of the thickness of the lower leg, you only get pretty much that much curl. But, you know, it's still a pretty decent amount of curl. And down here at the feet, of course, you do have ankle tilts right there. And kind of a toe joint, but really that's kind of happenstance of transformation, if anything. There's really not a whole lot of range there. So there you go. That's articulation, which overall is pretty solid, especially if you remember to actually transform it right. But yeah, he also covers with one accessory you can use again in this mode, which is the gun, which, you know, you can fold out this handle right there. And hey, look, there's a tab. And of course, there's a couple slots in the palm. You just put, I believe this goes in the lower slot because of, yeah, it's different from everyone else's gun in that regard. Then of course, you just wrap the fingers around. And he's actually got a pretty decent hold on. It's actually a pretty solid tab. So at least on mine. So there is that. Yeah, pretty solid overall figure and very cartoon accurate for better or for worse. And again, also measurement in this mode, his height up to the top of his head is about 8 1/8 inches or 20.6 centimeters. So he's a good solid height. Yeah, so he's not bad looking. The rest of the accessories, of course, can only work in the combined mode. So yeah, there's that. So go ahead and get this guy compared to. Well, here's the MMC blast off right here. Again, yeah, if you're going for like if your criteria is cartoon accuracy, then technically, yeah, this guy is a better overall robot, is the better one. I kind of like this really dark color that MMC used though. Yeah, he's like ankle tilts and everything, but I still kind of, I don't know. Something about this one, I still really like the MMC version overall. Still kind of still my favorite from the MMC guy. One of my favorites from the MMC set, but yeah. I really like this darker shade they use, this darker shades they use for the MMC version, so there's that. Here's his Legends counterpart. This is the first toy release. Again, you can see slightly different shades of brown. Also, he's a little askew right now. Yeah, you can see pretty much, you know, kind of more it's the same sort of thing, but yeah, there's definitely, it's weird how much, like, you know, transform this guy again really made me realize just how much they changed. This is probably, when upscaling from this guy to this bigger one, this is probably the one between for Magic Square here that they probably did the most changes to. There's so much stuff that even when it transforms fairly similar, they completely change how it transforms. Like the chest mechanism here, how it tabs together is different on the Legends version versus this guy. I didn't really quite realize just how much they changed until like they transformed this guy and went, whoa, you know? So there's that. Here's Masterpiece MP36 Megatron. Give you an idea there. What's that? Here's the MP52 Starscream, the version 2 that Takara did. Because Magic Square is might be a little bit taller, just a smidge taller. But yeah, give you an idea there. And if you went on the Deformation Space version, here he is there, just to get an idea on that. Deformation Space is clearly a bit taller than him. And of course, there's the entire team as a whole. Looking pretty good together, to be honest. One thing, again, he's still a freaking dust magnet no matter what I do. So yeah, there's the team. All pretty good size and everything, so there's that. Yeah, that is Magic Square Space Shuttle. It's a pretty solid figure, you know. It's a pretty solid figure overall. The legs are the most probably annoying part of the transformation to deal with, and yeah, the legs are definitely the most annoying part. The upper torso is not so bad. He does look good in all three modes for the most part. The browns, I know some people really have a really big problem shaded brown. I know a lot of the early photographs really did not help. A lot of photographs are really like oversaturated. I think Magic Square has a tendency to do that. But it doesn't look too bad in person, although I kind of wish they were a bit darker like the MMC version, regardless of whether or not that's totally accurate. And again, I wish they kind of did a different head. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Generally, it is an overall pretty solid release. Probably one of the better ones, in fact. I would say, yeah, him and Onslaught are probably the two of my favorites of the set, for sure. The others have just enough problems to be a little bit annoying. I think this one's generally pretty solid, and I'd rather like it a lot. As a whole, what was it? He cost, what, about $120, $130? Something like that? Somewhere in that range? Yeah. So he's in that, you know, pretty solid range right there. Again, assuming you got from like Show Z or whatever. So pretty solid price. He's a pretty solid figure. He looks good, poses well. Transformation, again, is okay. Once you get kind of the idea behind the panels and the legs, it's not too bad. But yeah, you got to be mindful of that. And yeah, he's pretty solid. Just yeah, you just got to watch out for a couple things, but generally he's a pretty solid figure, and I rather like him. Again, price-wise, he's pretty solid as well, but yeah, there's definitely a couple things. One thing, yeah, I didn't mention it all yet, but you noticed no combiner gun. I didn't mention it at all because it doesn't come with one, and it looks like the tune conversion kit isn't going to come with one either. So I'm going to bring that up more in the actual Bruticus review, but that's a bit of a flaw. Not against the figure. The figure itself is not the problem. That's kind of the whole set thing. But yeah, there were a couple problems with the actual combined mode stuff, mainly the pants. There's a couple problems with the pants which I had to address, but I was able to fix. And I'll talk about that again in the Bruticus review. But yeah, the figure itself is pretty darn good, even as a standalone. So if you just want a standalone blast off, this is a good solid one to get. Although personally, I kind of still have a preference for the MMC version, but that's personal preference. You might have different priorities, and this might appeal to you more. So, yeah, pretty good overall. Just a couple little things to be mindful of, particularly. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more, I think, in the transformation video. But yeah. Pretty good value for your money considering what you're getting. Although, just again, if it's a standalone, you're getting a huge chunk of stuff, which is going to be useless. So, yeah, that's it for this review. I hope you found it informative and entertaining. Hope you like, comment, subscribe. Check out my social medias down in the description and at the end of the video. Check out my Ko-fi and my Patreon. I shall see you next time with another video review.